Unit 2 has explored the unique nature of World War II, how it inflicted suffering throughout the globe, and how this shock precipitated the creation of a new world order. The first module explored how the aggression and brutality of the Axis powers inspired the formation of a global crusade to redeem the world from fascist barbarism. The second module explored how the catastrophe of World War II cemented itself in the Atlantic dream to build a better post-war world. The third module explored how in the immediate aftermath of World War II, the Grand Alliance, despite not seeing eye to eye, did cooperate sufficiently to establish a new international system predicated upon economic collaboration and collective endorsement of human values to replace the discredited Versailles structure that had collapsed from 1929 to 1945 under the weight of depression and war. World War II had been a global catastrophe. Total war had not only ravaged Europe, but also Asia and North Africa, while deeply impacting the Americas and sub-Saharan Africa. As a result, a new world order emerged that was less European-centered, afflicted by superpower tensions, and more deeply rooted in the principles of socialism, racial equality, and international collaboration. In the very conflict of World War II, the seeds of a dream for a better world were sown. World War II had proven unusually destructive, devastating infrastructure, while spurring widespread civilian suffering. The horrors of World War II culminated in a trial of Axis leaders, the renunciation of their fascist principles, and a global cry for an international system predicated on cooperation, universal rights, and peaceful trade in the place of national competition, war, and militant racism. The outlines for this dream were enshrined in the Atlantic Principles. With the 1941 Atlantic Charter, the West picked up the glove thrown down by the Axis powers. They renounced Nazi barbarism and elevated World War II into a global struggle between fascism and democracy to determine the future. Stalin was not a party to the Atlantic Conference, nor did he support the liberal sentiments embedded in the Atlantic Charter. After Hitler unleashed his brutal annihilation war in the Soviet Union, however, the Russians came to share Western abhorrence for fascism, and they joined in with their crusade against global fascism. During the course of the war, both East and West officially endorsed the Atlantic Principles as a template for post-war reconstruction. The result was that in the post-war period, a new international system emerged. Following Germany and Japan's surrender, the Atlantic Principles of peace and prosperity were enshrined in the edifice of a new international system. From 1945 to 1948, the UN Bretton Woods system, the Nuremberg Laws, the Geneva Conventions, and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights emerged. Collectively, these liberal, democratic, and humanistic values serve as the bedrock for the modern state and our contemporary international system, even if the advent of the Cold War meant that they fell short of the ambitions of the architects in terms of protecting ordinary people from the scourge of war. Another pillar of the post-war system was the gradual evolution towards a bipolar world system. Before World War II, Europe's great powers controlled most of the world through colonialism. World War II, however, had devastated, bankrupted, and discredited Europe. The Axis powers were devastated. The European great powers' grip over their global colonies weakened, while the USA and Soviet Union filled the global vacuum as military superpowers that had no rival except each other. Another pillar of the post-war world was the creation of the foundations for a truly global economy. At Bretton Woods in 1944, Allied representatives laid the foundation for post-war reconstruction. Appreciating that World War II was in many ways an outgrowth and symptom of the Great Depression, assembled delegates sought to erect an international economic system that would prevent a recurrence of the trade wars and national rivalries that had haunted the previous decade. The most tangible achievement of the Bretton Woods Conference was the creation of the International Monetary Fund, a system that ensured fixed exchange rates for national currencies. To facilitate trade, the Western powers also agreed in 1946 to the General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs, GATT. This established a forum for lowering trade barriers, laying the foundation for the free market economy that reigns across the globe today. The final pillar of the post-war world system was the Cold War. Although the Grand Alliance against Nazism had stood firm during the war, at the 1945 Yalta Conference, divergent and incompatible Western and Soviet visions for the post-war future had surfaced. Despite their inability to agree on a comprehensive post-war settlement, the wartime allies found sufficient common ground to continue their war, defeat Nazism, and agree on the outlines for a new international system. Still, as we will see in the next unit, Unit 3, mounting animosity between the superpowers complicated the task of reconstruction and increasingly haunted international relations. After 1945 to 1949, the Berlin crisis, the tension between Stalin and the West, escalated into a global struggle between Soviet-sponsored communism and the capitalist camp led by the USA.